In this episode 72, we talk about trade show domination. If one of your marketing avenues is through trade shows, this is going to be insanely valuable for you. If you've never been to a trade show, you want to watch this one.
Broadcasting from the box that rocks and Thrive15.com world headquarters, it's the Daily Hustle with Daniel McKenna.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back into the box that rocks. This is the Daily Hustle Show, episode 72. 7-2. Marshall F. Morris on the left. Over here, Daniel McKenna. Today we're talking about trade show specifics and what you need to know to dominate your next trade show. Marshall, are you feeling the trade show love over there? How are you doing?
I'm feeling tradey.
Feeling tradey?
Yeah, feeling tradey cotton.
Not traderous.
Nope, not traderous,
Just
but tradey.
Tradey.
Yep, tradey. Trade-Y.
Episode 72. This is the going back. I know you appreciate the history articles, the science, the mathematics stuff I've been bringing lately. We're going back to the old number 72 here.
Oh, wow.
Carlton Fisk.
Oh, wow.
You remember Carlton Fisk?
Yeah, I don't remember him as Carlton Fisk, though.
Oh, what do you remember him as?
Pudge.
Pudge. That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, old Pudge.
When he retired in 93, he closed a 24-year career as the record holder for most home runs by a catcher. It was eventually broken in 2009, but that's besides the point. Hall of Fame player who was named the consensus American League Rookie of the Year in 72, voted to the All-Star team 11 times, Gold Glove winner, 3-time Silver Slugger Award, famously hit the game-winning home run in the 12th inning of Game 6 in the 1975 World Series. Old Pudge. Old Carlton Fisk.
That's right.
There you go. Wearing the numbers of 72. Could have gone with Ed Too Tall Jones or Dan Deerdorf, but we went with Carlton Fisk.
I'm glad we did.
Okay. Marshall, we're talking about trade shows today. Why did you bring this up as a topic to say this is going to be helpful for the people at home? Why is trade shows something that people might want to pay attention to?
Okay, the reason why trade shows are such a big deal is, one, I have a ton of clients that are saying, hey, Marshall, are trade shows a thing? We're thinking about this trade show. Should we go to a trade show?
Go on.
And to my response is why do you want to go to the trade show in the first place? Why do you need to go? Why does anybody else need to go? Trade shows, maybe, but what is the purpose? Okay. And so I shamelessly just have a number of clients, but also if you don't execute the trade show correctly, it could be one of the biggest wastes of time and money that you could ever spend on your business.
Ever.
And I've seen a number of business owners do this, and they spend thousands and thousands of dollars, weeks on end, doing these trade shows, and they're not successful at it. And then they could have been spending that money in different ways. So that's why these trade shows so important.
We both have trade show experience.
Yes.
Several years of trade shows experience. In fact, I'm on, let's see here, see if I can do some general math. Roughly 8 years, the previous 8 years, have been attending multiple trade shows every year.
That's incredible.
With the intent to sell something.
Ooh, with the intent to sell something.
Yep.
Okay.
So I do know for sure that trade shows can be done well and they can be done not well. So let's go ahead and jump into some specifics here about trade shows for the people at home.
Okay, so this is what we're going to be talking about today. Number one, if you're going to a trade show, okay, then what is the goal? Okay. Why? How should I evaluate whether or not to be going to a trade show? Okay, that's the first thing. Is what is the purpose? The second thing that we're going to cover is the booth design. What should the booth at the trade show look like? What should your booth look like, and what are a couple super moves for designing your trade show booth? The next is the layout of the booth. Most people think, hey, I'll just throw it up a bunch of tables and it's going to be okay, and we should really not put much thought behind it. Okay, so the table layout. And then lastly, we're going to come up with the trade show presentation. We're going to give everybody the super moves for what you should actually be saying to clients that are attending the trade show there. Okay, so you excited?
I'm so pumped, it's crazy.
Okay,
yeah.
So number one, the purpose of a trade show. Dan, in your experience, have you seen some people at the same trade shows that you've been to that just do not have at any point any kind of clear purpose or goal or really, any sense of action at trade shows? Is this a thing? Do some people just like not even think about why they're actually at the trade show?
Yes, this definitely happens. So according to where you feel like your ideal and likely buyers are, that should be thought number one. So if you're trying to sell something, if you go trying to sell some photo services or sell some DJing services or sell some online platform training services, because I've done all those 3 things, are your ideal and likely buyers going to be there? For instance, if we offer a high quality photography service and we want you to pay us somewhere between $1,500 and $4,000 for us to show up and shoot your wedding, we are most likely, no offense to the people of Okmulgee, we are most likely not going to show up to a trade show that is based in Okmulgee. Because we know the good people of Okmulgee are hardworking, quality Americans, and also, based on general data, probably will not spend the money that we want them to spend on our services. So to go down to a trade show in Okmulgee just because they have a trade show is not a good use of our time. But let's say that there's one at the Dallas Market Hall. It's a giant building right next to downtown Dallas. Giant building. We know literally thousands of brides over 2 days will be roaming the halls there at the Dallas Market Hall. And we know that people in Dallas tend to have money. Of course, there's a ton of people that don't have money, but there's also a ton of people that do have money. And the people that are booking weddings and spending money on weddings in Dallas, a lot of times will have money. Therefore, we will most likely run into ideal and likely buyers there at the Dallas Wedding Show. So we do that show every year, twice a year actually. One is in January and once in July. Big Dallas Market Hall wedding train show.
So you're saying the first thing to determine whether or not you should even go to the show is whether or not your ideal and likely buyers are there.
If the point of me going to a show is to sell something, I need to make sure that the people I'm selling to are going to be there.
So you segued so well to the next point in our outline.
Oh, well, thank you.
Okay. Should the goal be to sell something at the show? Or do you endorse the guy that's saying, hey, I just want to pass out a bunch of flyers?
So you could look at it this way. Let's say you're a personal speaker. You're a professional speaker. Let's say you have some sort of agency. Let's say you do something that's a little bit bigger than like personal service. We show up and do this thing. And for instance, like a South by Southwest.
Okay.
Every year they bring in the biggest tech minds, biggest tech names to talk about tech stuff, business tech stuff. Potentially it's worth your time if you're in that industry to go to South by Southwest and try to make connections with people that matter.
Okay.
Potentially you're going there without the intent to actually sell anything. You just know, I know these big names are here, and if I can connect with these big names, potentially that's ginormous for my business. That's possible.
Okay.
But if your business is something that sells a service, and you know that, for instance, I know that there's going to be a lot of brides there. I'm trying to sell my service. There's not a whole lot of people I can connect with in the wedding industry. They're going to make a big difference for my business.
The networking is not going to provide me additional revenue.
Nobody from the not.com is going to be there that is all of a sudden going to say, never look at thousands of other photographers again, only look at Epic Photography. Because if that was a thing, then that'd be totally worth going to.
Sure.
But that's not going to happen. So then if that's not the case, then I'm only interested in making sure that I can sell something. That's the only other reason I would go.
So the goal for going to the trade show should be, if your revenue is based on not business development,
right?
If your revenue is not based on partnerships,
right?
Then you should spend time talking to your ideal and likely buyers that are there.
Yes.
And trying to close business, sell something.
Trying to sell something. Yes.
Okay. So I would say that's probably the first thing that may be, a little bit controversial I'm sure that somebody's saying, I'm just going and passing out information. I'm just like pushing information and hoping that people will ultimately call me back. I would say the likelihood of that happening is about as likely as somebody going at home and filling out a Google review.
Which you said does not happen.
Ever.
Right.
So the goal, the intent has to be to get somebody to buy something from you.
Right. And I think most people that go to these things and do those sort of things, in their mind, they still are trying to sell something. In their mind, they still are like, I'm going to go to the show. I'm still going to try to sell something. But then their actions don't back up that they had a plan going into it, or they don't have any sort of call to action to go to the next step to actually make the buying process happen.
So you're saying that it's not that they're not trying to sell something.
Right.
That they're just not selling something effectively.
Right. If you're going to go and just hand out business cards and say, hey, we're a photography company. Here's a business card.
Yep.
Here's a business card. Call me when you can. Call me when you're free. Call me when you look at this. Most likely you're not going to get any good leads because there's, 10, 20, 30 other options there to talk to.
Yep.
So there's no reason for them to go look at your site after talking to 30 different people and say, okay, I'm going to go and talk to this guy again. It's not going to happen.
So super move number 1 is define your ideal and likely buyers.
Right.
Are they going to be at the trade show?
Right.
Number 2, define what the close is, what the goal is, okay, in order to get them to buy, okay,
Right.
identifying that sales process. And then super move number 3 is you need to define how many people you need to book from that show in order to break even on the investment to be at the show.
This is a good point.
I would say going into a number of different shows, most business owners, they don't ask, well, what kind of return do I need in order to make this worthwhile? How many people do I need to close? How many bottles of knick-knack do I need to sell in order to break even? How many different events do I need to sell in order to break even? But you must do this. You need to take the overall expense of the trade show, and that's not just the trade show booth expense.
Right.
This is the transportation to get there. This is the cost of putting up a booth, designing a booth. This is the cost of the hotel, the food, the personnel to staff the booth.
Yeah.
This is everything included, start to finish. How much are you going to spend on the trade show?
So I'll break it down for you specifically here.
Ooh.
Specifics breakdown. Trade show, wedding industry, depending on how good of a trade show is, if it's a 1 day or 2 dayer. You're going to spend anywhere from $800 to $1,500
For just a booth.
Just the booth.
Just the
space.
real estate.
Just to have a space there. Just to say, this 10 by 10 or this 10 by 20 area, this is my space. Okay? Then you're going to spend, we just spent, let's see, what did we spend? We just spent about $4,000 on 2 different backdrops. One 10 by 20, one 10 by 10.
Okay.
To update the look of our booth.
Okay.
So you're talking about a couple grand for the backdrop.
Okay.
We bring a TV / 2 TVs.
And the backdrop is a one-time expense.
One-time expense.
Okay.
Bring a TV or 2 TVs to display the videos, to display the photos.
Okay.
And we'll get into some of these specifics here about why we did these things, right? We spent $200, $300 on some pop-up banners.
Okay.
We spent, I don't know how much money on some bistro tables and some linens for those bistro tables. And these are all the one-time expenses.
Yeah.
We spent $600 or so on these really nice photo album books that we use to present. Got all those, right? We spent $100, $200 on the iPad covers that all match, that look the same, that kind of for branding purposes. These are all one-time expenses.
And so, in all, about how much money?
I mean, so far for this one, if this is the one show we were going to do,
Right.
we're in, I don't know, $6,000-ish.
Wow.
Ish. Something like that. Okay, so that's the one time. It's going to cost us $6,000 to pull this off.
Okay.
Now, we also have to drive there.
Right.
If it's not in Tulsa,
Right.
it's talking about $100 of gas
Okay.
per vehicle. How big is your booth? Well, we're going to have to take 2 vans or 1 van or whatever. Then we got the hotels. If it's a 2-dayer, we got to be down there Friday night, Saturday night.
Hotel
Leave
in
on Sunday.
Dallas.
Hotel in Dallas. Another $100, $150, $200 a night. Then you got, you already talked about your gas. There's tolls. There's, you're eating food while you're on the road. You're maybe paying people to be there, right? Some ways you can do it. It's like sales commission. So a lot of the stuff we do is sales commission. If you sell stuff, you get paid. If you don't sell stuff, you don't get paid.
Ooh.
But other people might get paid for like scheduling. You're not even trying to sell stuff. You're just helping with the organization of the scheduling because you're talking to so many brides.
Right.
You might have somebody that gets paid $100 that day to sit there and fill out all your emails. And so you're talking about a wildly large number expense here. So then you have to think, okay, is what I'm selling, A, is there going to be enough of my ideal and likely buyers there for me to sell stuff? Okay, yes, there is. Okay, cool. How many of these do you think I can sell? Well, if it's 2 days and there's hundreds of brides and probably get the attention of maybe 20, maybe 30 a day. Maybe we'll set up appointments with 15 or 20 of those people. Maybe half of those will close. Maybe we'll close 5 or 10. Okay, me personally on a Saturday, I'm going to close 5 to 10. Do those numbers add up to be a positive for me? Am I making money going to this show, selling my photo packages, knowing that I've got 6, 8, 10 grand of expense built into this?
So you got to evaluate.
You got to evaluate.
So with the understanding that you're going to spend 8 to 10 grand on a high quality show like this.
Yep.
Let's begin getting into the right way to do it, because there's a lot of wrong ways to do it, and we'll touch on those, but I want to focus on the right way to do it.
Sure.
So point number 2 is the booth design. Okay. You talked about the different things and the banners and things that go into creating a world-class booth. Tell me, what are the key features, the key things that you have included as a part of the booth that will make people want to pay you?
So first of all, you have to get their attention.
Okay.
Because if you've ever been to one of these trade shows, especially when it gets busy, it's a little bit wild. The halls are, when I say halls, pathways, are roughly 8 to 10 feet wide.
Okay.
And this building is like the size of like 3 football fields long.
Okay.
And maybe 2.5 football fields wide. Like, this is a giant building.
Right.
And every 10 feet or so, there's another wedding vendor on each side of the aisle.
So hundreds of vendors.
At least. There's like 12 to 15 aisles of like 3 football fields long, vendors on both sides.
There's like 70 vendors.
There's like 70 vendors.
Yeah.
A lot of vendors.
Yeah.
So what is it that's going to make the bride who's walking down, who, by the way, is getting assaulted on all fronts? David's Bridal people trying to say, sign up for the Bed and Bath Beyond, sign up for this. Vacation lady, have you thought about your honeymoon?
Yeah.
This is happening this entire walk.
Sure.
Which, by the way, if you see people towards the end of the day and they're just like, ugh, they're just worn out.
Right.
How are you going to get their attention?
Right.
How is something you are going to have put up look good enough and be the right service that they're going to be like, this might be worth 5 minutes of my time to find out about?
Sure. So you got to grab their attention.
Got to grab their attention.
What are the super moves to grab their attention?
Well, it has to be super high quality look. Right? So, if you're trying to convince people to spend thousands of dollars with you, you got to look legit.
Okay.
So we have that giant banner I just told you about.
Did you do this in Microsoft Paint? Did you design this in Microsoft Paint?
Did not design this in Microsoft Paint.
Okay.
This is the banner we just have been using this year is 8 feet tall, 20 feet wide, 4 photos that are like bigger than humans. Super high quality look. So when you walk by, you're like, well, that looks different. That is cool. We've got epic photography and videography on there so people know what it is we do.
You take these photos with an iPhone?
We did not take these photos with an iPhone, no.
Okay.
But we spent time designing it. We spent money getting it made.
Sure.
So that's the first thing.
How tall should this banner be? When I put it up, how tall should it be?
Well, typically, the backdrop that's going to be back behind you for this and a lot of other trade shows will be like pipe and drape, right?
Yeah.
And those are like 10 feet tall.
Okay.
So if you want your booth to look like you are in a different... if you want your booth to not look like it's a trade show booth...
Sure.
And instead make it look like it's a totally different, like, oh, this 20-foot section is a different part of the world.
Yeah.
This is interesting. This isn't like the guy that just has like one banner stretched across the 20 feet.
Yeah.
Then it needs to be at least 10 feet tall.
At least 10 feet tall.
It's got to cover up the pipe and drape. You've got to look different.
Okay. So that's the first thing is you got to look different. You got to capture their attention.
Yep.
Okay. Then you said TVs. I got to buy TVs.
So we bring TVs, and we have nice trussing with Parcan uplights that are illuminating the TVs because our service is a visual service. We sell images and video. So to show the quality of our work,
Sure.
and to get people to even take a look at us at all, to have the conversation, of which I can tell them in that conversation why our benefits are so good, why we can solve their needs, all the RNBC stuff we've talked about before. They've got to like what they see in the very beginning. They make a decision very quickly if you suck or if you look like you might be good. So we have TVs that display the videos on a loop.
Sure.
We're sitting there with media boxes in the back, looping presentations, video and photo, all stuff that looks really good. So if we catch someone's eye, if they say, oh, video and photo, what do these guys have? Interesting. That's what we're trying to do.
So you got moving images.
Yep.
You got a banner that is bigger than everything else at the show.
Yes.
Pictures being displayed that are bigger than humans.
Yes.
And you have all of the wires neatly hidden in the trussing.
Definitely.
Everything looks world class. Everything is clean. Doesn't look like it's been wadded up in a box for the past 6 months.
Yeah. Because people will very quickly decide if you're good or not based on those sort of things.
The same reason why you wouldn't wear out wrinkly pants on a night on the town.
Exactly.
Okay. So people are actually making decisions on whether or not to even start a conversation with you based on the look.
Yes.
Okay. So people are looking, and let's say everything is done in a world-class fashion, and you're ready to try to get them to come into the booth.
Yep.
There's all different kinds of ways to do this, but what has been proven to be the most effective layout of the interior of the booth, whether it be a 10 by 10 or a 10 by 20, the typical trade show booth sizes, what is the best layout for the booth at the trade show?
So it depends on how you're going to execute it.
Yep.
If you're a one-man show, then you probably want to have like one designated area that like, this is my space. Everything else over here looks cool. It's enticing. It makes people like want to kind of come into the booth, look around, maybe touch something, maybe feel something, but here's my space. Here's my thing.
Okay.
For us, we'll bring 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 people into these spaces.
Okay.
Because we want to be able to capture as many of those people walking by as possible, have as many conversations as possible to get through all the people that maybe are not ideal buyers and find the people that are ideal buyers.
Sure.
So we'll have 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 bistro tables.
Oh.
Small little cocktail tables.
Not big folding tables?
Not big folding tables.
Okay.
We want to be able to, A, just for space reasons, but B, a smaller table means we're having a conversation that's much closer to somebody. We're trying to have an actual connection with somebody. So the display in front of us is just that book I talked about, just maybe some of the lead sheet stuff, the information I'm going to take down at the show. And then on the other side will be the customer. So there's enough space for us in the booth to have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 different conversations all at the same time. That's all we had time for this one, for episode 72. We're going to continue the conversation in episode 73 to give you more specifics about trade show domination.